I've never been to the US before. I've never even lived in a city before. When I came to San Francisco, it was really about making stuff, figuring things out, building. That was really the core motivation. It's like a kid in the candy store, but I don't know how to open a lot of the jars.
175 portfolio companies and counting?
I just figure stuff out. For me, the getting out of the system is less about I drop out of college, but more about what is really something that I burn for, and I go for that. Some of it was definitely too early. With the QR codes, with Snapper, there was nobody. If you really want to be steeped in an ecosystem, you gotta be early. Too early means you're constantly pushing a rock up the hill, and then you enroll others in a world that you're creating.
As a founder, you bet everything on your startups.
This is the folks I love to support, where it's not just about themselves, the money, just success or whatever. That's boring. I want to see people who strive for something much bigger than that.
Hi, Philip. It's super nice to have you on the podcast. Super nice to see you. I'm so glad we get to interview you today for OVNIs. And first, I know it's not that easy to introduce yourself, but if you were to start somewhere, like what are you doing? How do we know each other? A short introduction.
My background is as an entrepreneur for many years. So I'm from Germany originally. I moved to San Francisco when I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the early 2000s. And I discovered Silicon Valley for myself there. Originally, I'm coming from the technology, engineering, project management side of things. And when I came to San Francisco, I discovered Silicon Valley. I had no idea that this place existed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a big eye-opening or opening of possibility space for building things. So that's why I say I'm an entrepreneur. I build things, I create things, I have ideas together with my dear co-founders, and we make them reality, specifically at the time in enterprise Fintech. I don't know if we talk more about this.
We will double click on so many things that you're saying right now. But yeah, so you are an entrepreneur, you are a builder, and most recently we had the pleasure of working on something together.
Yes.
Which we're currently not doing anymore, but that's how we met. We were building a fund.
Exactly.
And I'm so excited to ask you so many things today, which I think the founders will find interesting, and also other people working in the industry. And the first thing, of course, the moving to San Francisco at 21. What was that like? And this was when exactly?
That was 2006.
Okay, so very different times.
Yeah.
Obama administration, I think. Or not
yet.
Quite, not yet.
No, not yet. I remember being on the streets of San Francisco when Obama won.
Okay. So pre-Obama, but very different times. And that must have. What was that? Why did you move to San Francisco? What was that like? And how did you? You grew up like me in some smallish German town, I think.
Yeah.
So that's wild.
Yes, small German village. Picture me in my early teenage years in a small town with nobody else doing nerdy computer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to San Francisco because I did an apprenticeship in Frankfurt, Maine, at a small company that one of my dear friends and long-term co-founders after, but at the time I didn't know, Max, he co-founded that in Frankfurt. I started there after high school. And we opened up an office in San Francisco. And I had this glorious idea that I want to work before I go study. Mm-hmm. So I asked the guys, hey, can I go to San Francisco for a year and work there and do what I've done in Germany and all across Europe, the projects we've been doing, and do that in the US. We just opened up there. And they said, yeah, sure, come. They generally just threw me into the water and just do your thing. And so that's how I ended up in San Francisco. I've never been to the US before. I've never even lived in a city before. Mm-hmm. So it was quite an experience there.
I can only imagine. And I remember what it was like to move to Berlin when I was 19. I also had this, I wanted to experience larger city life and a different ecosystem than the one I had grown up in. But I mean, crossing the Atlantic and then going to Silicon Valley of all places. Tell me what that felt like.
Weird. It was so weird. I also had no ability to discern when I arrived what is a good neighborhood and what a bad neighborhood is in San Francisco. I just remember Max and I driving through town and like, this is a neighborhood you don't really want to go at night. I was like, okay, this looks like everything else. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience was also that all of the nerdy building things, like just doing stuff, figuring stuff out.
The garage founder.
Yeah, the
archetype.
Founder. Yeah. In San Francisco, there were not so many garages. There was more down in the valley. But it was just normal.
Mm-hmm.
So like, wow, there's these hacker houses. People are hanging out and building things and living together and so on. So it was really wild.
So that founder archetype, the builder, is that you?
Yes, and so when I came to San Francisco, it was really about making stuff, figuring things out, building. That was really the core motivation. And I did that for many years in different constellations. And I still see myself as a maker and a creator. But today I'm less building product myself, but I support founders on their journey as a coach, as a mentor, as a supporter in whatever ways you want to call it.
A very avid angel investor, I might say.
That's true.
175 portfolio companies and counting, you and Max together?
Yeah, I guess you could sum it up. I really love the entrepreneur spirit, and I want to support people building amazing and important stuff. And either do that with my teams or investing. We invested in a lot of amazing teams over the years, or working directly one-on-one, or also in groups with entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But I love that ecosystem. I love what a friend called it, like the idea to action ratio is really high in these spaces. So I love that.
And specifically in San Francisco.
Yeah, there of all places, very much. Even so 2006, we're kind of slowly climbing out of the .com bust. Then we had another dip in 2008 with the financial crisis, and then it really started to pick up.
So paint a picture for us. What was it like to be a young German in the SF startup world?
It's like a kid in the candy store, but I don't know how to open a lot of the jars.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had no contacts. I knew one person, which was Max.
Mm-hmm.
And also him I didn't know so well yet. So it was amazing. And I had no idea how this game works, we just had to build our network and our contacts from scratch.
Because you were building something new then, right?
Yeah, so the company I moved over for got acquired very shortly after I moved.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do in San Francisco after the company you worked for got acquired? You start another startup.
Yeah.
So it was just around the time iPhone was just about to come out. And so we thought, okay, let's build something with QR codes, which only really existed in Japan at the time. Today,
talk about being early in the market.
Exactly. Yeah. So quite early. Building QR codes, mobile websites, linking these things, the stuff that's normal today.
Mm-hmm.
So that it didn't go so well. In the end, somebody acquired the technology, amazing. And then we went back into enterprise fintech. So that's when we started Taulia, which then fast forward got acquired by SAP many years later. But even for that first startup that we built there, Snapper was called. The company was Baybrain. These wonderful names. And we knew nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, it was, and if I look back, it's quite, oh wow, that's, we made this happen out of not so much connections with other people.
And you decided not to go to university then?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So who were your teachers? How did you figure stuff out? How did you even get to the initial idea? Like, what was it like learning by creating a startup at 21, 22?
I just figure stuff out.
Mhm.
So this is a big part. I didn't really have teachers or mentors in that sense. I would say Max, as my co-founder, was one of them. He's also 10 years older than I am. And so he had the experience of building a company in Germany, which was not venture-backed. So, but he had experience building things. And other than that, it's reading books. At the time, reading blog posts. We had some advisors that somehow my other co-founder convinced to join us and give us some of their advice for some equity. That's just figure it out.
I mean, it's a bit romanticized now, sort of the college dropout who starts a company, and that's what everyone's talking about, like the garage founder archetype. It's the college dropout kid, like, and I guess to a certain extent it rings true. Someone who doesn't want to gather accolades in the existing system. They want to build something new. They have a vision for a different kind of future. A corporate ladder is of no interest. So does that ring true for you?
I think even, especially today, especially in tech kind of jobs, unless you want to go into like deep science work, you can learn so many things by yourself and with open source-ish materials. And the thing I did just by coincidence, and I would encourage other people to do, is really figure out how to learn, how to grow, how to stay at it. And if that means you study something and you want to study medicine or become a doctor or whatever, amazing. But it's, for me, the getting out of the system is less about I drop out of college, but more about what is really something that I burn for, like that I really, really love, and then I go for that. Because the system for me is set up in a way often that you should do X, Y, Z because that will give you prestige, status, whatever. And there's many other ways how you can be really, really fulfilled and have an amazing impact and create amazing things. So that's for me when I think about dropping out of the system.
And be very successful. I mean, I know that you value other things, but by like the capitalist means, you've also been very successful.
Yes, I mean,
by the capitalist standard.
By the capitalist standard, we've been really successful.
We'll talk about the 2 unicorns in a minute, but just to leave that cliffhanger in the conversation there.
Yes. And actually, I was talking with somebody recently for a reference call about something, and he asked me about motivation for the person I was referencing for. And I realized of course, it was also about being successful, but it was not really about the money. It was more about figuring stuff out and building things. And then we made commitments to our customers, our investors, making them successful. That was the main driver. It wasn't about the money. And yes, we did really well. And that's amazing. And I'm really grateful. And I'm really grateful that I did that with my co-founders and the investors and the customers who believed in us. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I realized this is quite unique, and I'm really grateful for that.
And in the age of AI and everything being so volatile right now, it's very hard to make any bets on which path might become successful versus others. So I guess emphasizing on stuff that you're passionate about and that you're intrinsically motivated by makes even more sense now. How would you just do the same thing now if you were 21, and would you move to San Francisco, and would that be still the path for you?
Yeah. And I try to keep that alive even now that I'm over 40. So it is so easy to let that spark fade away. And the spark is really more trusting what to go for and go for that. And of course, there's other obligations that you have compared to when you're 20, when you're compared to when you're 40.
Yeah, there's no option of failing. I'm assuming you moved with the same mindset. I just packed up my car and drove to Berlin. There's like that I would not make friends and that I would not finish university and that I would not find a job just never crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it was gonna work.
Yeah, it is that daring nature. And one thing though, I mean, if I was 20 again, I would totally do it. That's no question.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would go to San Francisco or some other place, especially now the US is kind of
Yeah, that's a different podcast.
Yeah,
but
different podcast. So
yeah.
that just to keep that in mind. But San Francisco is still an ecosystem that is very strong when it comes to building and creating. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the art of being early. Timing. So you worked on a QR code startup before we really had phones to scan them.
Yep.
And then you built a fintech company before the term fintech was even a thing. And then you built another company in decentralized finance and coined decentralized finance.
Yes.
So walk me through how you get to these ideas and what does it feel like to be early? Might even be too early.
Yeah. Some of it was definitely too early. With the QR codes, with Snapper, there was nobody scanning this thing. Today, the camera has built-in QR code reading. This didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, definitely too early. And fintech, I don't know when the terms get started to use, but definitely enterprise fintech wasn't really a thing when we started Thalia. So I remember our first customers asking us if we can install this thing on premise, so on their own servers.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, this is a SaaS product, and enterprise fintech SaaS. There was quite some setting of new stories of why this actually makes sense.
Which can be also tough. You're explaining something, an early idea or an early market, convincing customers, convincing investors.
Yeah. Yes. And also, I was luckily not responsible for the sales. So there was my other co-founders, and again, Max. You see the red thread of Max over many of the things I did. And then crypto 2017, we thought we were late to the game, and we were just so early with Centrifuge. And we had this also there. I guess what we often did is we thought we can implement a big vision right now. So websites, mobile, happening.
That's so you say it in hindsight, it all of course makes sense. But at the time, people can look at a market and not see the obvious trend. So how do you see something in an emerging space? Is that like intuition? Is it a pattern recognition that you do? Having done this a few times now, do you just see these things?
No, I don't just see them. For me, it's always a collaboration. So Max, he's a beautiful visionary. And for me, it's very, very powerful to work with somebody who's very visionary, and then I can play off of that very well, and then we flesh out the bigger vision or how to get to the vision together sometime, and then just kind of build on top of each other. Also with the QR codes, like we didn't just come up with this. Max met somebody in a bar in San Francisco who was talking about Japan, and then we talked about this. And then we said, okay, how could this look like? And there we go. Or, of course, we knew about crypto, Bitcoin, etc. already before we founded Centrifuge. But we were very busy. We were very focused on Thalia. But then, leaving Thalia, we talked about crypto. How would this new financial system look like if it's open and accessible? And logically, we used what we knew from Thalia. Thalia is a network of large enterprises with all of their suppliers connected to it, and then they exchange invoices, orders, payment information, and other data electronically. At the time, that was very, very new. Lots of paper was being sent around, or fax even still.
Fax.
Yeah,
I think I've sent one fax in my entire life.
Yes. So for the people who were born,
those are these things that beeps with a telephone line and then send signal, which you print out.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So there were a lot of faxes at the time. I'm pretty sure still there are probably some faxes somewhere.
Probably in the German Finanzamt, there's still some fax machines.
Probably. But the point is, we of course combine the things that we know and apply them to the new reality, in this case crypto. And we said, okay, how would we build something like Taulia, where we knew enterprises, their supply chain, lots of data flowing back and forth, and then financing based on this data? How would it look like if we built it today? And then we designed centrifuges and open protocol for financing and document exchange and document notarization. Way too early. As you said in the very beginning, decentralized finance, so DeFi, wasn't a term at the time. We coined that term. And also real world assets, what Centrifuge is doing, they're bringing assets.
All the rage now.
Exactly. It's all the rage now. 2017.
That's going up 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's 10 years ago. Exactly. Yeah. My nephew were not born even yet. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's crazy, no? So how do you know whether you're too early or just right?
Well, I definitely know what it means to be too early and very early, because I think with all of them we were very early and we were very determined. Also a bunch of luck, in like self-created luck, but also just timing worked out. So we were usually very early. And my perspective is, if you really want to be steeped in an ecosystem, you gotta be early. Like even today, the people who were that early in the crypto ecosystem, they have a different understanding of how this works. They have a different relationship to the space as well as to other projects. And it's hugely beneficial to be early. Too early means you're constantly pushing a rock up the hill. Stuff is, especially in the end, like if you're building enterprise things, it's not scalable, it's not secure, it's not audited, it's not trusted enough, right? So enterprises also make buying decisions based on trust of the technology or the space that you're in, and so you got to pick the battles that you want to fight, and just right. That's a good question.
Do you feel that in just momentum? You stop explaining it and people call you up?
That is then already, you need to be in the space already for some time. If you're just entering the space now, nobody knows you. So if you're in a space and you maybe enter on the early side, you feel that you're in the right moment at the right time. That's what you had with Taulia, right? Yeah, and that's just my style or our style. I know other people who come into a space and they really focus on operationalizing the things that have been there. Amazing. That's just not how I approached building things. I guess for us, when we entered a space, then you were quickly able to make connections with other core projects in the space or other core constituents. Other people might approach it very differently, right? So I know many people who build great companies who come at it where they see, wow, this technology is ready now to be implemented, and the market really needs it. And off we go, and we build something out of that. And that's a super valid strategy and way of action. And maybe you avoid paying the pioneer's tax of pushing the rock up the hill until... Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what really excites you as a person, or me in this case. Just coming into a space, operationalizing it, wasn't that exciting to you, to me.
Yeah.
Exactly. At the time, as a builder, I want to figure stuff out, and
going back to the archetype.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's something that is really turning somebody on, amazing. Go for it. The challenges that you're facing are different because you'll have many other players in the market today. What is really unique about you then is the question, etc., etc., etc. And
unique about you triggers the next clickbaity thing I want to talk about. The unicorn playbook, Philip. You have built 2 unicorn valuation companies.
Yeah.
Now, we all kind of have our own idea of how hard that is to do one time, let alone twice. But I'm wondering whether it was actually easier the second time, having done it before. Is there such a thing as a unicorn playbook? Are there learnings, or do you actually have to unlearn some things?
So what you definitely learn, or you learn a bunch, doesn't even have to be a unicorn playbook, but you found something, you found a company, you found a project, you started, you have to learn how to talk about what you're doing. You have to tell a story. You have a vision that you relate into concrete building blocks while still holding this big vision. And then you enroll others. You enroll potential people who will work for you, potential partners who you would partner with, potential investors, and of course your customers as well. You enroll them in a story and in a world that you're creating. That, doing this for the second, for the third, for the fourth time, of course you build the muscle and you understand what that takes and what in this case, what my strengths are, what my co-founder's strengths are, what we actually want to build. So there is a lot of this learning. So there is for sure a lot of build-up experience that you can rely on doing it for the second, third, fourth time. There's also another archetype who is the serial failed entrepreneur. So where people fail again for the same thing over and over and again. So there I would look at why you keep failing at a certain point and not being able to like stack up experience. And then as it comes to the unicorn playbook, I'm pretty sure way smarter people than me have developed such things. You can, of course, have indicators of who are the founding team, how driven are they. Of course, you look at what market are you going into anyways, and what is your chance of building a company that is industry defining or category defining. All those things just have to be given. I guess now that I say there is a bunch of things, I just didn't instrumentalize them in such a way that
maybe subconsciously. I mean, doing it for the second time, you were working off of some resilience you already had to getting a bunch of nays from investors, finding it very difficult to gain early momentum, and then struggling through what it's like to have a 10-person and then a 100-person, and then I don't know how large Taulia grew to be, but it's very different. And suddenly, maybe you're not the CTO anymore. So, very curious to hear your lessons around that. Especially, I tried twice, not in any shape or form successfully, but I think there is a certain merit to thinking how hard can it be and not knowing.
Yeah, you go for it.
you have just no concept of how difficult it is, and that's why you do it, because then the second time around you know, and that's like sticking your hand in the fire knowing it's gonna burn. That's a different kind of choice.
Yep. And
so many things you want to say.
Yeah. I'm just looking for the entry point.
Maybe walk us through what it was like to start becoming successful with Taulia.
Yeah. And maybe one thing to really say upfront is that it is a huge team sport. So, like we're talking about me as a twice unicorn founder, we founded more than 2 companies along the way. And me as an investor, hopefully a lot of them will turn out beautifully successful. but it's really a big team sport. So who you found with and how you complement each other is so crucial. And also, if you really have the willingness, as you said, to put the hand into the fire again
and again and again.
And then maybe you dance around the fire or whatever. But just to say that, yeah. I mean, stuff that is very clear to me these days, and are these kind of step functions when you build a company, when you have a team that you're collaborating with and you are and you're working with day to day.
We were talking about the unicorn playbook.
Yes.
I would love to hear what worked better the second time and what things did you have to unlearn. I'm assuming there was some. I would love to just hear you walk us through, okay, you're successful at Taulia, you're very successful suddenly, and then you leave and you become a startup founder starting at zero again.
Yep. So let's talk about Taulia for a second, then make the arc. So Taulia, when I left, I think we were maybe 150 people, 2016. I don't know what we were in ARR, but we had a bunch of big logo enterprise customers, millions of suppliers on the platform, amazing engineering and also a general team across different cities in the US as well as Europe. It's a very different, like we had product market fit, and it's a very different phase than 3-4 people starting to build something from scratch. Plus, also for me at the time, I had a very, very difficult personal situation that happened. With that mix, I was coming to a point where I realized, okay, this type of work, we were planning in 12, 18-month cycles, not in days and weeks anymore.
Yeah.
And so there's that all that mix really came to a point where I said, okay, I'm leaving Taulia. I spent about a year to find my replacement.
Yeah. Well, you were CTO at the time?
I was CTO, exactly. I built I wrote the first lines of code basically, and then I was responsible for the engineering team up to that point. And we found somebody who would take over from me. He became VP engineering, and he also then took the company from there until the acquisition by SAP in the end. So it was an amazing hire to really go all the way there.
Was that so you decided to leave, and then was the co-founding team still leading the company? Were the founders sort of the exec functions? How does that even work when you then want to leave?
So we were 4 co-founders at Taulia. Myself and the CEO, we were transitioning roughly at the same time. So we also...
This is the famous Max again.
No, the CEO was not Max, even though Max was de facto vision CEO, but CEO practically was Bertram. He was one of the 4 co-founders. So it was Max, Martin, Bertram, and myself. Bertram transitioned out of the CEO role. We promoted I don't know if he was VP sales or chief sales. I don't remember, but he became CEO.
So super interesting. I'm assuming that many founders will at some point ask you this question: how do I transition out of the exec role and into silent shareholder, board member? Yeah,
different ways. So Bertram stayed president, or I think he stayed president. Max, when he then transitioned out a couple of years later, he stayed on the board as well for some time. I didn't. For me, it was also good to just have a clean transition, and I really needed a break. I was, with all the things that were going on also in my personal life, I just needed a break and focused on some quite different things. I made a card game. I focused on more community building, and that was also my start really in relational type of work. And then we came back to build Centrifuge, and maybe a year and a half later. Yeah.
Okay, so you took some time to work on different stuff, and then you said, "Oh, let's do this again. Let's build another unicorn."
Yeah.
Was that the vision, or did you just build something cool and
it was?
Let's see what happens?
No, when we started, it was never let's build another unicorn.
Also, Taulia was at that time hadn't been acquired yet, so
exactly, Taulia had not been acquired.
How successful were you at that time? Was it already like, oh, I've exited, I'd never have to work again, or was it like
no? I was very fortunate. So to start Taulia, I actually took a loan. So I hadn't paid that back yet. Yeah.
Because this is, you bet, as a founder, you bet everything on your startup.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to talk about what that actually means in terms of how risk exposed you are to one thing working out.
Yeah.
And how rare it is that then actually does.
Very rare.
How wild it must have been for you to go from I'm leveraged against a loan that I took out to build this to now I can angel invest and
it's a system shock.
Yeah.
To get to that, I was very lucky that the loan I took was a private loan, so there were no crazy interest or anything like this. Nevertheless, I was in debt, and along the way, we were able to sell some secondary, I think, in our Series B.
Something you now encourage founders to do?
Depends on the circumstances, yeah. But what it did for me and for us as a founding team, it took off some of the kind of baseline stress. I have a loan. What the heck? To relax a little bit more and really focus on building. Also, San Francisco is not cheap. So
no.
I was also lucky. The person who I was married to at the time, she had a house in San Francisco, so I didn't pay horrendous rent. But still, like, it's good to have at least the base covered. So really lucky to get some secondary. It wasn't fuck you money, as people like to say, at all. But still able to cover the base. And when we started Centrifuge, it was really that let's build something cool again. Let's
same founding team or
different founding team.
team.
So
the infamous Max again.
Max and I, we started talking about this. I remember even the specific Presida Park Cafe in San Francisco, next to Presida Park. This conversation when we talked about all these invoices and orders and all of the data being potentially on chain in some way, and you can programmatically find out who owes whom money and finance that all the way down and provide capital to the right places when they need it at the best rate. So it helps the companies. I remember this conversation, and then we looped Martin in at some point into this. So there was the three of us who co-founded Centrifuge.
And how long had you been, I'm assuming that you had sort of personally been interested in crypto and had been looking at it and maybe even mining, I don't know. But
I wish.
And so it was your personal interest coupled with you had already built something in an adjacent space and you saw this technology and you made the connect.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. And also just again the drive to create something unique and potentially valuable. And also, I think there's something about building something that supersedes the status quo, because the status quo was you had companies that enterprise, fintech, SaaS companies, or the SAPs or the Oracles of this world who own all of the data that they operating with. Even at Taulia, we had issues where the companies who run SAP had to argue with SAP that they can use their own data. So SAP was saying, you're running SAP system. No, you cannot use your own supplier, invoice, whatever data and bring that onto Taulia. So there was even discussion who owns the financial data that was running in an SAP system. And so that was the thing. I was like, how would this look like in an ideal world? And then start from there. And what would be possible building on this? Of course, this initial grand vision was not possible at the time with the tech stack, with the trust in that ecosystem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're slowly getting there now, with where crypto is, with what you could do with agents and agentic interactions and so on. So there's maybe now would be another better time to start something like we envisioned. And
So this was a bit too early, maybe.
Yeah, it was a little bit too early, but how it is when you start something, you have a big vision.
Yeah.
And then you kind of pivot your way towards where you're going. And that, like, to say, what did we have to unlearn? I don't think we had to unlearn much. I had to learn a lot because I didn't know a lot about crypto at the time.
And you were again the tech.
Yeah, tech/product.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Max was CEO this time, right in the right position. And so also there I wrote the first lines of code. We had the second time around, people knew us, people knew what we built at Thalia, so fundraising.
But this time Germany, right? So you switched ecosystems. You built this in Berlin.
Yes.
Was it easier to approach VCs and be like, look, I'm a third or fourth time founder. We've done this already very successfully over there. Did that make it easier? It
made it easier for sure. This time I didn't take a loan. We also didn't invest a lot of our own money. At Thalia for the first year and a half, roughly, we bootstrapped this baby. We did consulting work to make this work. Like, we ran month to month. So it's super stressful.
Yeah.
This time we said, that was really stressful. Let's not take that stress. Let's focus on something else. So we raised capital and it was much easier.
And you already know a lot of the things. I mean, I know what it felt like to be in the founder seat. And I have an engineering degree, so I had never heard of value curves and blue oceans and red oceans and all these acronyms, and what differentiated a seed from a Series A was all.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel very disadvantaged when you're in these. You get these contracts and you think, I remember sitting in a conversation with a potential client and they sent me some license agreement and said, send it to your legal team. And I was like, okay, I'll put on a different hat and I can be the legal team, but which legal team?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, okay. Second unicorn. I'll keep dropping this in there. You're too humble to say it, but very successful again.
Yeah.
So then comes the actual acquisition of Thalia, where you still have shares.
Yeah.
It gets acquired.
Yeah.
And then comes this wild moment where you actually have funds.
Yeah.
So how did that feel?
Weird. It was weird. And also, even so, it is something to really learn of how to deal with money on that level. Even when I sold secondary at Thalia, it was a large enough check that I just went into. I mean, I had a personal checking account at the time. I don't know what my max balance was ever, maybe $5,000 or something like this. And I went into the bank and I cashed a check. It was multiple hundreds of thousands. And I wanted to cash the check, and then all of a sudden a door comes out, it opens, and the person comes out and it's like, Mr. Stehlik, we'd like to introduce you to our personal banking manager, blah, 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 blah. And all
these doors you didn't even know existed.
What happened?
Suddenly open.
What is happening? So even there, and then when Thalia got acquired, that was a couple more zeros. And it was a whole other level of really how to deal with this. Luckily, my lifestyle to this date is I'm not spending tremendous amounts of money on stuff and so on. So even there, I had this money. I was like, okay, what do I do with this?
You didn't go out and buy a Porsche.
I did not buy a Porsche. No.
I'm super curious to dive into this a little bit more because I think it's this abstract idea that one works towards as a founder, that this big exit and it's going to make all the hustle worthwhile, right? It's the equity story that also the VCs buy into, the big payday. Very few people get to experience the big payday at the end. Statistically, it's only a handful for every 100 startups that get founded. And so I think wealth management for founders is an important thing. Money in Germany is a topic we don't like to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about money. So how did that change your relationship with money? And then what did you decide to do with that money?
Yeah. How did it change my relationship? This might sound a little bit esoteric, but it is, you have to be able to hold that energy in some way. So the same, maybe an analogy is, if you're a musician and you're able to step on a stage in a small bar with 50 people and you rock it, compared to stepping on a stage with 50,000 people, it's a very different energy to hold, to be in, and also to work with that. So this is something I had no idea about, but it's very similar for money. You have to understand what it means to have this, what to do with it, how to allocate it, things you have to think about, because whatever, Germany has a lot of specific tax things that the US doesn't have. I don't want to even go into it, but all of the things all of a sudden are important, that are not, that you don't even have to think about.
And you set them up sometime at the beginning. I mean, I remember going through this exercise of, you put the LLC and then you put a personal holding, because for future purposes of when you actually get sell shares and all that kind of stuff. And that's a very specific thing that's also important to know and to set up and to be wise about, especially if you come from a family that doesn't have that kind of money, and where that kind of financial literacy is not baked into your personality. And I know we have limited time and I could ask you like a million questions on this, but I want to ask you a last thing. So I've worked with you obviously, and I know you now. And what I'm excited about is that these things, usually successful founders build more successful founders, right? There's this, you can map it out, like the success of one big unicorn in an ecosystem breeds a lot more innovation and more founders, because the people that had shares and equity and sort of stock options suddenly have the funds to start companies, but also you can share your knowledge and you become an angel investor. And that's exactly what you did. And I would just love to know how you're spending your time now. Like, how are you? I know you care a lot about giving back. So how are you doing that these days?
I'll go for this in a second. I feel like I want to get one more level concrete on the money.
Okay, be concrete side. On the money. We really like that.
So recommendations is check in the country that you're in, what are actually the tax situations. Like in Germany, for example, it's good to have a holding company that you can put your shares in. I had no idea that this is in Germany because I was 21 when I left and had no idea. In the US, it doesn't really matter because it flows through. So be clear of what the tax situation is in your country. And then if you have this chance of actually having, or if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough, not lucky, but fortunate enough to have an exit of some kind, really think about what matters to you specifically, and what the risk profile is that you want to take, and where you put your money, because where you put your money says a lot about the values that you have. And just be clear, what do you value, and take your time. I'm working with financial advisor, Igor is his name, and it really we took some time to invest, because he said, wow, it's just been a minute. And I was like, it's been half a year. It's just been a minute, just get used to it, just get comfortable. It's kind of coming back to that energy level, get comfortable with it, because
suddenly there's no restrictions anymore. You could do anything and everything and all at the same time. Yeah.
That, and also it's a thing for my system, or if you move 500,000 or 1 million in a certain direction all of a second. I was used to it from the crypto space, where it's totally normal to lose 30-40% of your net worth in a heartbeat. That was really hard the first time, but it's like, okay, it's that's the flow. But just so that I'm happy to do another episode at some point, just to talk about money and how
it's very necessary. Not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And from someone from a small little town, I had no entrepreneur in my vicinity. And these things are hard to ask.
Yeah.
It's very hard to say, look, should I sell secondary?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm highly stressed in my personal life. Like, all these things matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a financial advisor, so this is not financial advice, of course.
This is never financial advice.
And okay, so how I spend my time now?
Yeah. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Yes, angel investing. I invest in things that either benefit planet or people. It's a crucial piece, and it's a wide range. So we invested in industrial stack for energy transition, or for new materials, or for climate adaptation plays, to cope with the changing climate, and of course also to continue to reduce emissions and so on and so on. So that is one. But then the other, where I invest my time and money, is what serves people. So there's a few projects that are really focused on bringing entrepreneurs together or fostering the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And where I invest my time is with these entrepreneurial people in many different ways and shapes. So we host gatherings, we host retreats. I work one-on-one with folks as a coach to support them on their journey, as a former founder, but also as I trained in Gestalt therapy. So I really also went
I don't know how to translate that.
Gestalt therapy is, you say that in English as well.
Oh, okay.
It's
good.
a form of therapy, coaching modality. So I bring all of this together, and ultimately I want to see people build things that are really aligned with who they are. And I believe if they really do this, then they also build things that serve not only themselves, but also either their community, the wider community, the planet, or whatever it is. This is the folks I love to support, where it's not just about themselves, the money, just success or whatever. That's boring. That's been there, done that. I want to see people who thrive, strive for something much bigger than that.
Now that's a beautiful closing thought, no? Thanks so much. It was really fun to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. So nice to see you in person again.
Yeah,
and thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. And next episode we'll talk about all the other topics we couldn't talk about today.
Super happy.
Yeah. Thanks.